Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to another Unived Live. We are very excited to have one of our Unived ambassadors, as well as a vegan athlete, on our live tonight. And I hope everyone is having a great day. And I hope that everybody's training and doing whatever exercise you love, such as some people like Zumba. So if you're doing Zumba or if you're biking, if you're swimming, I hope that you're being consistent and you have that motivation to get up every day and say, this is a new day and I'm going to get started with my activity and have a good day overall. And before we begin with our live, please feel free to ask any questions while the live is going on. We will address them as they come. And like I said, we are excited to have Dr. Arjun Krishnakumar on our live tonight. And let me just tell you a little bit about him before we get started. Dr. Arjun Krishnakumar has a Ph.D. in Biomedical Science. He is primarily a runner and has been running marathons since 2009. Wow, over a decade. Way to go, Arjun. He transitioned into an ultra trail running in 2017. And up to date, he has run 21 marathons, 13 ultra marathons, including the Marathon Des Sables, a 250K survival race across the Sahara Desert in 2018. Currently, he is training for his first Ironman which will be on August 21st of this month. Arjun claims to have made one of his best decisions of his life, both which have impacted his athletic performance as well as his health. And that is when he decided to turn vegan at the start of 2019. So without further ado, I will bring on Arjun. Hi, Arjun. Good evening.
Hi, Monica.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for coming on to our Unived Live. We are very excited to have you and to learn more about your journey to veganism. I know many are probably anxious to know more about it and to understand what made you become a vegan in the first place. But before we actually start in regards to, once you transition to veganism, how it's been and what it's like to be a vegan athlete on a day-to-day basis, I'd like to ask you if you could share, before being vegan, which you transitioned into 3 years ago, how was your life as a non-vegan?
Okay. It's my pleasure being here. And so before I went vegan, I was a vegetarian, and I used to have eggs. So that was the only along with my meals. So my breakfast was always eggs, an omelette, or any form of eggs. That was always my breakfast. And yeah, and I was primarily a vegetarian. Never had meat in my life, but that was my main source of sort of nutrition. And being a South Indian, obviously, I used to consume yogurt a lot, and naturally milk as well. So yeah, I think that was my life before I turned vegan. So, and lots of cheese.
Vegan or cheese pizza, was that your favorite?
Yeah, it was my favorite margarita.
Oh, great. So what made you turn vegan?
Okay, so um, it was in so the first time, obviously, you and Amit were the first vegans that I knew, and then I saw Paul Giblin, who came down as a vegan, and I saw how he was running, and then Laura Klein. That was in 2019, and I remember having a word with Amit about this, and always during our ultras, especially the trail ultras, you know how they feed you. So I would always, gorge on the the yogurt and the rice, and the coffees. So this time I decided that for 2019, I just for the race, I went vegan. So basically, none of my race nutrition included any dairy products, and I seem to do pretty well. My only concern, obviously, was I was very happy with it, and I felt pretty good throughout the race. Uh, and my only concern, and like a lot of other people, was how does this work around it? Will I be able to sustain this? And yeah, I mean, talking to Laura, talking to yourself, talking to Amit, and I knew that it was possible. So that's what then I decided from because of that race, and I gave myself a month, about 25 days to slowly transition, and then on that race was in the first week of January, so about 20 days, and from 1st of Feb I went completely vegan.
Right. And was that transition period hard, or because you were already a vegetarian, did you find it easier to transition into a complete vegan?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that easy because I had to be mindful of a lot of things because inherently, obviously, we don't think about these things things like your biscuits, even like sort of sweets, and it's second nature. Somebody gives you is there, and you just have it, and these are the kind of things I had to be conscious about. So it was slightly tough at the start. As I said, yogurt, like preferred rice is a big part of my meal. I would have it. Going off that was a bit of a challenge. I mean, but it was all just trying to find alternatives, or just giving up on the whole. Pizza is one thing that I didn't realize that I was going to miss, but once I made the decision, then I realized. But then I was just like, okay, I have to keep away from this. So I think the first couple of months it was just about being very conscious about what I'm eating and trying to see whether this has milk or not. After that, it became easier. I naturally knew that what has milk and what doesn't, and what I need to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all go through that, and I totally understand that. Oh, initially you're like, I don't think I'm going to miss something, but you do end up missing something. And I think for me was mainly ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream.
And back then, when I turned vegan, there weren't that many alternatives, or there weren't any actually alternatives here in India at that time. So it was very not difficult, but it was a little bit sad because there was nothing that you could sort of rely on, or whenever you needed some sweet. But nowadays you can find a
I,
lot of alternatives to ice cream. So I think we are now blessed to have those alternatives whenever we need them. But before we
it was
continue, yeah, before we continue, we're just gonna have to. Oh, never mind. Um, yeah, sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, I was saying for me it was I went 2019, 2022 Diwalis without having a single piece of sweet. So that was a big, yeah, big challenge for me. And yes, the ice cream. I think uh, I didn't have my first ice cream till 2020 when I visited Australia and I saw vegan ice creams. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So apart from the food that you had to be more mindful of, what were the immediate changes that you noticed after turning vegan? Both, I'm gonna be specific here, both in terms of just on a daily day to day, and then also in your athletic performance and recovery.
okay. So it was I always train in the morning, so the dinners, I always felt lighter. The recovery wasn't an immediate, obviously, notice the body takes time to change. uh, Recovery was much faster, and it was I would get up in the morning and I wouldn't have that heaviness that I would always have because as I said, my meal would always end with the curd rice, and that would make it heavier. Or sometimes if I had a pizza, or if I cook at home like a pasta with cheese. So that next day morning it would take me a while to sort of uh, get going. But it was much easier for me to sort of get into my stride of my training. Recovery definitely was much better. One of the biggest changes it was that I noticed, and this was completely surprising. This was beyond like the athletic and the recovery bit. But I have something called as familial hypercholesterolemia, which means that the cholesterols, they are not processed properly. That's as simple to put it. So my the LDLs, the bad cholesterols, even since I was 20 years old, were always like pretty high, and they were always off the charts. And I went vegan in Feb. I do my regular checkups in July, and when I did that, I was amazed. So my LDLs would always be around about 175 to 180 milligrams per deciliter, and the normal is about 100. And in July, it had fallen down to less than 130. And then, just as a curiosity, I repeated it in that November, and it had fallen down to below 100. So, that was the big, sort of change that, the risk of sort of heart disease just went, like,
Yeah.
just gone. And the only thing I cut out was dairy. Like, obviously, I didn't have any meat. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was, it was a big, sort of, I, probably I felt that in terms of like the recovery. As I said, I would feel more heavier because for me the fats would stay on. I lost a bit of weight as well, naturally. So yeah, it was a good transition.
Great. And has it been easy or tough to stay vegan? How was that first year? Was it hard for you, or was it, a breeze?
Yeah, it was, as I said, after the first couple of months, it wasn't that difficult. It was okay. So I would miss out on the cakes and the sweets, but the when I saw my first blood report and I saw how it has affected me, that gave me more sort of motivation, as well as to keep on course. So I knew that okay, this is good for me. And I was running well, I was recovering well, even in general I was feeling pretty good. So I was okay giving up on those. First 2 months I felt bad that, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But it was just like gets just getting beyond that the first couple of months. And once your mind is sort of rewired and retuned, you don't really care about missing out on those.
Yeah. And now that
And
you've been,
then after that, after the first year, sorry.
go ahead, continue.
No, I said after the first year, like first 6 months, first year, it has just been, it's been very easy. So now, I don't even have to think about it, and I don't feel bad about not eating cheese, or missing out on margarita, pizza, or ice cream. So it's it's absolutely fine.
And since you've also traveled abroad and being a vegan to different races, also, have you found it difficult to stay vegan to the parts that you've traveled to and while at being at a race?
So I actually haven't traveled much for a race after I've gone vegan, but I have traveled, and I have survived. I went to South Korea at the end of December 2019, and I managed to stay vegan. There are vegan options coming up everywhere. It was tough. South Korea was tough. In fact, I would have struggled even if I was a vegetarian, because they have either meat, or they don't. So yeah, so that in that sense, it was hard, but I was okay. I went prepared, but I never went hungry, or never had to sort of uh, take up, become, go on, eat something that was non-vegan. I've always managed to find an alternative.
Is there anything that you pack? I know that we had COVID also. I just realize that we've had COVID for 2 years, and that so you've not been able to travel as much. But have you taken any snacks or anything that you say, okay, I'm going to pack this just in case there's nothing I can find?
Yeah, when I went to South Korea, I knew that it would be a bit of a challenge. It was like sort of an unknown. It was a work thing that I was going to, so I did pack. I packed a few, like I packed theplas, the go to, and I think that's the only thing I packed. Nothing else. That kept me going. There were a couple of days when evenings when I or lunch times where I couldn't find food, so I use that as like to eat.
Yeah, yeah, great. And now that you've been vegan for 3 years, do you plan on staying vegan for the rest of your life?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's just been amazing. So, as I said, it's health wise, just externally also. I recover much better. I'm doing well. I'm running much better. Obviously, and as I said, the extra incentive for me is also cutting the risk of the heart disease by a lot. Like it almost negates it. So that motivates me to stay vegan. And there are quite a lot of alternatives now. It's much easier to stay vegan, especially since pandemic. There are a lot more stores that have come up, and lot more alternatives that are there, and it's much easier to stay vegan. Every restaurant that you go to now have vegan options, or they will convert it to a sort of a vegan meal if you ask them to, and everybody is conscious and aware. So it's much easier to stay vegan. So I don't see any reason why I should give up being a vegan.
And since you've been vegan for 3 years, what would you say now that you've seen the progression in terms of your athletic performance to where it is now? Um, what is one major, apart from your recovery, do you see any other differences or that you would attribute to being vegan in your performance?
So yeah, I'm running better. I am like running and performing better. It's Obviously I've put in all the I've been training. Even with my current Ironman training, the volume is much higher. With obviously with the training as well as with my work and other things. So I still see that there's an improvement in my performance. And yeah, I feel that it's making me making me put those, like, recovery is a big thing, but it's also making me put those miles, making it much easier so I can push myself a lot more. If I look at myself as to what I was 3 years ago, even then I had finished a decade in running, and now where I am much fitter, much leaner than what I was. And yeah, my running is gone pretty, it's gone a level up.
And what have you ever been afraid to? I think one thing that if somebody's considering to go vegan, especially as an athlete, is always deficiencies, especially vitamin B12 is the major one. But have you ever faced any deficiencies, or if you have, what have you done to mitigate those deficiencies?
Yeah, I mean, like, two major deficiencies are the B12 and D3. I mean, D3 is obviously is irrespective of your diet, but with the B12, I I take supplements, but it B12 is also a tricky one. It's not something that you can, even if you're if I was a vegetarian, that I would get something easily. So it's it's poultry, and even then you need to consider the quality. And it's technically it's not poultry, it's from soil that you get B12. So either ways, supplementation of B12 was important. So I've always been on like B12 supplements and D3. These are the two ones that I am conscious of and like take regularly.
Okay. Is there any other supplement that you take on a regular basis that to help you with your recovery, sleep, especially? I think one major thing that many athletes face is either they don't get enough sleep or the sleep is broken because they're just overly tired and they're unable to get that essential recovery. So, which supplement do you take to help you with that?
Magnesium, I would take magnesium for that, and that has improved my sleep quality a lot as well. Especially so last year, this in March, I had COVID as well. So at that, like it was I wasn't vaccinated, and it was the Delta variant, I assume, and I was pretty bad. And after that, I saw that my heart rate was pretty up. It had. So if I did a 6 or a 7K, like a 40-minute easy, very, very easy run, my heart rate would be around 170, 175. It had gone up that much, and with the magnesium supplementation, that's when I actually even started the magnesium supplementation very consciously, because it then helped me uh, sleep better as well, and also help bring down the heart rate as well. My resting heart rate had gone up about 10% because of after COVID.
Wow. And now that you've started to train for, or you are training for a triathlon, what made you want to go? Now you've progressed from being a vegetarian to a vegan. You also started from being a marathon runner to an ultra runner, and now you're venturing into a triathlon. So, what made you sign up for an Ironman?
It was something that I always wanted to do. Is something like obviously it's a very challenging Ironman. Ironman is challenging with three sports, and each one pretty well. So it was just a matter of I always had this thought of doing an Ironman someday. And after I finished my MDS in 2018, it was like, what next? So that's when I just decided to sign up for an Ironman. I was supposed to do it in 2020, but COVID struck, so now here I am 2 weeks away. But yeah, that's it's just my the aim was to experience something new with the cycling and the swimming, and also challenge myself, and finishing an Ironman itself is a big feat. So I thought it would be a good challenge, and that was something I was a part of my bucket list and wanted to take it off.
Have you made any changes to your nutrition with your training for Ironman? Because it is a lot more demanding on the body. You're doing three different disciplines, and sometimes you do brick days, and so have you done anything different when as compared to if you were training just for a ultra marathon or a marathon?
Uh, yeah, I have consciously increased the amount of protein that I eat because it is as you said, it is demanding. It's managing two sports. So basically, I'm training twice a day for about 4 days out of the 6 days that I train. So consciously upping my protein, and also even my strategy during runs was that if it was a shorter run, then I wouldn't have anything during the run itself. But now, even for like if it's a medium sort of, if it's like an hour and a half biking, or a medium sort of this duration of workout, I ensure that I have like a gel to supplement myself, so that I'm not like low on energy during the day, and I don't have to sort of play catch up, because I know after about 6 or 8 hours I have to train again. So um, I am conscious of that. So I have like my during training nutrition has changed as well, and my protein content, the amount of protein that I've been consuming has consciously gone up.
About how many how is your protein intake calculated or planned? How
So
many protein shakes? How much does it come from a protein shake, and how much does it come from your meals?
So from a protein shake, up to on a day, about 30 grams come from a protein shake, and it goes up to on long days, it goes up to about 50 to 60 grams from a protein shake because I take the recovery as well. Apart from that, everything else is from the diet. So I ensure that every meal that I have, I there is a protein source with it, and a good protein source.
What can you tell us a little bit more about what is that protein source that you include in your meals?
So for my breakfast, I generally have like an idli or a dosa. But what I've done is generally when you make the idli or a dosa, there is like three portions of rice and one portion of the dal. So I have increased it to two and two, so that automatically increases the amount of protein. With my meals, lunch or dinner, I have sprouts, tofu, or like soya chunks. I ensure that there is like a bowl of them always accompanying my meal.
Great. And what would you say your favorite Unived protein supplement is? Because now there's different ones now. So which ones do you use?
The protein I always use the raw, but my favorite is the recovery mix, is the vanilla, creamy vanilla one.
Okay, great.
It sometimes helps me keep on the hard days. It keeps me going. I At the thought of that the creamy vanilla shake after the workout, it keeps me going.
You know, you're not the only one who has said that. A lot of people have. There's something in the recovery drink that whenever you're doing a hard workout, that's the one thing that you're thinking of before the run is over or the training is over. So I don't know what it is. We'll have to maybe do a study to find out what that is. um, so you mentioned a little bit about the fact that your during training fueling has also changed because of your triathlon. Uh, what would you say to somebody who is uh, scared or has a block in their mind that, I don't want to take any supplements while I'm training, while I'm running? I'm only going to take them on race day.
Um, so the thing about supplementation or training is that your training is hard. It's about a lot of volume as well. So for example, if you're training for a marathon, you're on the race day you're running 42 kilometers, but you build up to it on peak weeks. It's about how much you put in it. You run as much as about 80 to 100 kilometers in a week. That's a lot of mileage, and your body needs functioning. It's not just that on the race day if you have the supplement, suddenly the body is going to go, oh, this is good, and I'm going to function better. It's always an addition of all that. So it's like you're building up brick by brick your body, and you're making it stronger for it to perform on the race day. So that's why these supplements are important, and every supplement, like your protein needs, we all are, as amateur athletes, we have full-time jobs, so it's sometimes hard to get that extra protein from your diet. So it's okay to supplement it with excess protein. And even things like your B12 and D3, your body needs them because you're constantly training, and then you train and then you go do your work as well. So your body is constantly running. It's a machine that's constantly running, and it needs that oil, that fuel to get better. So it's not just about the race day, it's about the process of the entire training. So we all run because we enjoy it, and the race is just as a way to challenge ourselves to see how we stand, and or how we do better. But the main chunk of it is our training. So we need, it's important that you supplement yourself or give your body that it needs to perform better and better.
Great. Yeah, so I think that's one of the questions that we get on pretty often is that, I've never used a supplement. I don't want to use any supplements during training. And I think there's a lot of myths behind that. Of course, we're not saying that you need to over supplement, but I think wherever it is needed, I think it is important. Otherwise, like you said, your engine is getting a little rusty or might get a little rusty, and it's not getting the adequate fuel it needs to run on a daily basis to reach the goal that you have. I think many of us forget that we have these ambitious goals, but we don't do the necessary things to reach those goals, or we forget about a certain aspect of it. I think many of us do get the training right, but we forget about the nutrition or the recovery.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people have an inhibition about is because these supplements come in the form of capsules. It a lot of, like, because I have gotten this as well, that they people don't want to take supplements. They feel that they're taking medication, or they feel like somebody who's like who's a sick person, or they might get addicted to it. But supplements are just what are naturally available in your body, but just that they're not making it enough, so you're just giving it from the outside. It's not because you're sick, it's because you want to get better. You want your body to function at more than 100%. So you need those. And it's these supplements are not something that they have an addictive property. If you just leave them, your just body gets weak while you're training. That's just because your body is using up a lot more of this. So it's that way. That's the mental block, I think, that people have, that they feel like they're taking medication, and they feel like like somebody who's sick, which is actually not the case. It's just going beyond that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's they're there to help us maintain those levels that we need to function at an optimal level. So we do have a question here from the Faceless Man. Hi, Arjun. How do you link sweat loss as per the weather on the day to supplement fluid intake? Let's say you're training in Bombay humidity versus training somewhere else, which is less humid.
So I'm always training in Bombay, and most of the time it's humid. I use salt caps to supplement my training, and every workout I start with a salt cap. And if my workout is over an hour and a half, I take a salt cap every hour to sort of supplement the sort of the sweat loss. And because we naturally sweat a lot even if you're doing anything. So salt caps is something that I always supplement, like use as sort of electrolytes to sort of supplement the salt loss.
And do you take any? Is it just water that you consume during your training, or do you
Uh,
also
uh, uh,
supplement it with?
no, I mean, I do gels. So the gels is the one that I consume. Some of the gels do have excess electrolytes, like the vanilla sea salt. So what I do is I plan my runs and my intake of the salt accordingly. So if I am taking a gel, then I skip the salt for that hour. And then, like, if I'm taking a, say, a vanilla sea salt, then I skip the salt for that hour and then take it in the next hour.
Great. I hope that answers your question, the Faceless Man. What a name. Um, what tips would you give to somebody who is considering to go vegan and who just needs that extra push?
Um, Tips is, firstly, just decide and go for it. Don't find a need why you need to go vegan, and don't do a tester. It never works. A temporary thing will never work, because you'll always know that you have a fallback. Take that option out of your head, and that makes it initially it might be harder, but as it goes along, it makes it easier. So, but if you keep that fallback as if I'm going to try this for a month and then see how it goes, that I feel it never works, because you know in your head that you're always going to go back to what, either you're being vegetarian or whatever your normal diet was. So uh, find why you need to go vegan, why, your purpose, that not because somebody else or somebody else's purpose, or you watched a documentary, not that. Find what is important to you, why you need to go vegan, and then hold that, and then like go into it that way.
I think that's a great tip and advice. I think finding that reason to why go vegan, not just because, like you said, or I watched a documentary. I think it has to be more than that. I think you really have to believe in it. Um, Says the faceless man has another comment. Thanks, Monica, for the kind words. Arjun, so would you reduce the salt cap or delay it if you're not training in Bombay humidity or Mumbai humidity?
Yeah, I would not. I like, depending on where I am and how much um, you know, how big my training block is. I would, first we need to assess that, and see. For example, like I did a marathon in December in Hyderabad. It was the in winters in Bombay, the humidity is actually much lower. So I don't take as much salt caps. I don't take my salt cap before my runs. And if I'm doing a long workout, I take a salt cap maybe once every 2 hours. So that you need to figure out by yourself as to how much you sweat and how much sort of sweat loss you're having and how humid it is. So that's something that you need to, it's like sort of an uh, trial and error method.
Again, I hope that answers your question. If you do have more questions, we're more than happy to address them. Now that you're almost ready for your Ironman, 2 weeks away, what are your expectations for the race? Is there a time that you're aiming for, or is it just, you're going to have fun and whatever time you end up, but I'm sure you have a time in your head?
Best case scenario is I would like to get a sub 11 hours in, but it all depends on the swim leg. As a runner, I'm not a very strong swimmer, so, and also on the weather. But yeah, I think sub 11 hours is the best, is what I am aiming for. If not, then I'm confident of getting it at least under 12 hours. So hopefully, I've put in the training for it. So hopefully I can execute it on race day.
Yeah. What's your strongest leg?
The running.
I was hoping you would say that. I mean, you've been biking quite a bit, so I'm sure that's also quite good.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the maximum, is the most that you're spending your time in. So you have to put in your hours biking. Running is always the strong suit, and the triathlon training with the biking has improved my running a lot more. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that if all goes well, you will achieve your goal. And but remember to have fun. I think that's
I
the
will.
most important part. And before we go, we do have a fast five with us. So here are 5 questions, and just say whatever comes to your mind at the first, whenever I first say them. What is your favorite event at the triathlon?
The running.
What is your first meal after a race?
Oh, the recovery mix.
What what is a pre-race ritual which you never miss?
Uh, oh, previous. Uh, it's just taking it easy and slow, getting up quite early on the race day, and then just taking it easy and slow. Yeah, that's the one. Never wake up right at the end.
Your first phone call after a race?
To my mother.
What is your favorite vegan junk food?
Pizza.
I don't know if pizza is junk. I think it's a proper meal. But anyway, great. Well, thank you so much, Arjun, for making the time to talk to us about your vegan journey. Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with?
Uh, yeah, I mean, if you're considering going vegan, you should, as I said, just dive into it. Don't test it out. And apart from the physical and athletic, improvement that you will see, and you will see that your mind gets much more calmer, and uh, you understand much more. There is more beyond just for what is there for yourself. Yourself is your first reason why you go, but once you start going, you see that there is uh, the the environment, the animals, and you start feeling a lot more compassion, and not just towards animals but also towards your fellow human beings. But whatever it is, just enjoy yourself and train hard.
Thank you. So if you have any other questions for Arjun or us, do send us an email or DM us on Instagram. Do you want to share your details, Arjun? Your
Oh,
contact?
on Instagram, you can find me as Raging Runner, and yeah, that's where you can find me. And you can, if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask me, you can always message me.
Great. So as there you have it. Do get in touch with Arjun if you have any questions about be going vegan or even just on his training, because he is definitely a very dedicated and committed athlete. I've known Arjun since 2018 or 17, and I
17.
would definitely say that Arjun has come a long way, and he's definitely because of his consistency and commitment, it's what has gotten him where he is now. Congratulations on that, Arjun. I think you're somebody to look up to and aspire to be. Um, and thank you for sharing your story. And if, like I said, if you have any questions, do ping him or send us any emails on. We'll definitely get those addressed. Thank you, Arjun. And thank you, everyone who has,
Thank you, Monica, for the
yeah,
kind words as well.
yeah. And bye. Oops. And thank you, everyone, for staying in tune with us and joining our live with Arjun today. Do stay in touch with us, and we'll be having more lives this coming week and the week after. We are having a live tomorrow, and tomorrow we will have Vipul Kumar and Nupur Singh, who will be running the 100K championships at the end of the month. And you'll be able to chat with them tomorrow. And if you have any questions, do jot them down now and get them addressed tomorrow. But we're excited to have them and wish them well on their journey to the 100K championships. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Arjun, for sharing your vegan story, and all the best at your Ironman Copenhagen. I'm sure you will achieve the goal that you've set out to. Have a great evening, everyone. See you all soon.